Hello, and welcome to our YouTube channel. I'm John Selkis here with Eduonix to talk to you about our new mini degree for our e-degree program in Python. A little bit about myself. So my background is as a data scientist working for my company C Solutions LLC. I've done all kinds of different consulting, whether it's machine learning, multivariate statistics, data visualization, data cleaning, data mining, data processing, you name it, I've done it. I've worked with both machine learning, AI, pretty much anything under the broad field of data science, such as things like natural language processing. So working with that raw text data as well, always a fun thing, always something great to work with. To get to the point that I've gotten to with my skill set in Python, I had to start at the fundamentals. This course is designed to start you there and build you all the way up so that you can jump into the field of data science as well as web application development and be a contributing player on your team or within your group, or even start your own company like I did. Outside of my work in data science, I'm also a mathematics instructional coach. So that means I teach some cool classes like statistics, where I get to work with a variety of students on a variety of skills to focus on best practices to ensure people learning are at the highest level, receiving the best education that they can find. It's this background, along with my mentorship within the district, that allows me to ensure that our videos are of the highest quality and prepares you for a real world skill set in Python. Now, focusing more on what you'll learn in this course. The first module was the one I created where you're focusing on Python fundamentals. In this course, we're going to start with the basics. You're going to create your first program, you're going to read in data, you're going to create data, and that's going to be those fundamental skills of Python. Whether you're brand new to the language, or maybe you've used it a little bit here and there, this course in this module will have something for everyone. We focus on things like Python best practices. For example, when you're creating code, you should comment it out. This helps you go back and realize what you did. Even with someone who uses the language as much as I do, there's times I figure out something really cool and then I go back and I swear to you, it's like I've never read the language before. I don't understand what maybe that third line of code did. It really helps to go back and see your own explanation, because not only does it help you go back and solve similar problems, but a lot of times you find ways to utilize those tricks and skill sets again in later problems. So you'll learn the modern data set fundamentals when working with Python. In terms of things like commenting out code, you'll work with strings, you'll work with int, you'll work with float. We'll talk about different ways to understand the different types of data and the subtleties that working with them. For example, when we'll work with tuples, lists, and dictionaries, you'll talk about some of the best use cases for each and when one might be more ideal over the other. My goal is that when you finish working with the Python fundamentals course with me, you'll walk away with a skill set that allows you to go into any office, any industry, any field, and work with Python. You'll be able to come in and help solve problems in a unique way and automate processes that once took hundreds of clicks in using programs like Excel or Google Sheets. When you walk away from the fundamentals course, you'll be able to speak and apply about the skills that you've learned in Python. Once you get through that course with me, you'll have your fundamental skill set to then expand it into something a little more higher level and applied within that Python programming language. We're going to build up to the field of data science. So data science is one of the highest earning, highest paying, highest in-demand gigs around the world right now. I don't care what industry in. If you have a background and a skill set in data science, there is work for you. When I started my company, I started it all on my own and just started getting out there, finding courses, finding ways to learn this. After I got my master's degree, I was looking to apply it somewhere outside of my regular job. So I started out on my own and found companies that were looking for people to process their data. I can promise you that you will be able to find a lot of companies looking for people to help them understand what their data means. So we've got our base level skills in Python. Now is where we amp it up into web app development using Django. In this, you learn how to build databases and structure your data so that you can pull it while using web applications. This is really heavy on the back end of things. When we think about database structure, Django allows you to work with the same Python programming language and build that structure into your data so that when the data is stored, it's also easily accessible. If you've ever played around with some data analytics, I'm sure you've seen a brutal spreadsheet that is just not ideal for working with. And a lot of times when we collect data from users or just from real world events, it's not always the cleanest. Using Django allows us to segment, build, and structure that data using the most common industry practices to ensure that when we want to access it later on, we're in a great place to do so, and it's clean, it's easy, and everything comes out quick, which is one of the keys to anything in web app development. No one likes a long load time when we're trying to get some data in. Some places you might see this would be, for example, on any weather app that you use on your phone. A lot of that stuff is stored in a database and we're going to ping it, access it, and pull it out. So you'll be the person now who can build those databases, as well as create some front end stuff so that you can showcase your work. This is a great way to build a portfolio. So looking at those first two modules, the course with me, Python Fundamentals, this will allow you to have that almost cheat sheet that you can look back on. So when you find yourself working with a data set and you're thinking like, okay, well, how can I splice this data and you get just this chunk of a data frame? You could jump back and look at that cheat sheet of skills. You'll notice I annotate pretty well with those notes. So again, keep your notes so that you can look back and you could say, oh wait, I need to work with a string. Let's go back to this module. Hey, we're working with converting data types. We're grouping a data frame. We're using a crosstab. You can hop back in there and see those things so that you can then transfer them over to more applied problems later on. When you finish module 2, you'll have that database background to build structure to your data and then work with displaying it as well. This all builds into our third and final module for this Python mini degree, which is focusing on data science. So, as I mentioned, machine learning in the general field of data science is one of the most hot and in-demand fields in the world right now. So when you get this skill set, it makes you marketable in any job. Whether you're going into a business setting or a government job, private industry, you name it. Again, the ability to work with data is universally respected and in demand. The goal here of building in Python is to see the advantage over traditional methods of data analysis that were the old side of business intelligence. So for example, working with Excel, working with Google Sheets, they're great programs. I do use them. However, every time I do something in one of those programs, my goal is, can I automate this with Python? So I might get a data set shared with me by a client in an Excel file or a CSV. I can look at it, I can see the data. Chances are maybe they've done some filtering, maybe they've done some cross tables or pivot tables to get some counts and maybe a couple of graphs. However, there's a good chance that this wasn't really quickly reproducible. It's not a report that they can run that gets them the output that they need. It's just one of those things where when you do it that way, it just takes a bit longer. So the goal of using Python for data science is to not only automate those type of things, but also to get to a level of forecasting, predictive analytics, and that whole branch of machine learning and AI that allows us to have a deeper understanding of our data and give actionable insights to our clients as well as ourselves so that when we make our decisions, they're truly data-driven. When you get into this module 3 here, what you're going to focus on is going to start off with pandas. Now, again, if you've worked with data, chances are it's sent to you in a handful of ways. It's either a CSV file, an Excel file, it could be a Google Sheet, maybe it's in a table written in HTML on a website and you have to parse it off there and then pull it in. So reading those online sources, there's not too many ways that we send data to one another. Again, your most common are going to be CSV and Excel, or again, Google Sheets, depending on which environment, Microsoft or Google you're working in. However, the fundamentals are the same, and Python works with it all. So you'll learn all about pandas, which is one of the most popular used things in all of data science, because when it gets down to it, data science can't happen without a data frame. So basically what this does is it shows Python how to see or read a file in the same way our eyes would see it when we're looking at an Excel file. So the structure of columns and rows. This is where you'll see a lot of those fundamental skills you learned back with me in the first module of Python Fundamentals, as well as an understanding the idea of a database from Django in module 2. So when you get into here, we're going to learn about those analytics. You'll learn a lot about visualization. When you think about a presentation, people like graphs. They like to be able to see things. So that's where you'll build in things like Matplotlib to go ahead and visualize those graphs and get some cool takeaways right off the bat that helps not only you present your data, but to understand it. The first step in any data inquiry is thinking of things like summary statistics and visualizations. So when you get that data frame read in and created, you'll do some things like summarizing data, looking for means, medians, mode, counts, trends, and then you'll build those into some basic graphs. When I say basic, it doesn't mean that they're not insightful. Sometimes the best graph to use that I've ever seen is a basic bar graph. They're useful and they tell you a lot. Without the bar graph and other similar things such as histograms, box plots, you can't actually understand what to look for in your data. Most real-world problems don't come with an instruction manual. The goal of data science is to make it so that you're the instruction manual. So that's where we build into that first stage of exploratory data analysis. You're reading in data, what do you look for? How do you know what to look for? Chances are, if you're working for a business or a client, you will see that you are given a goal. Say, hey, we want to learn about this. What can we find from our data? What predictions, what insights can we draw? To do that, you have to look at it all. The best way to do that is to use, again, those visualizations such as scatter plots, comparing two quantitative variables, to look at, okay, what kind of trends do I see? What kind of patterns? Can I maybe fit this with a regression line? You'll then go into using things like scikit-learn for just that. So to make predictions, to draw regressions, to get graphs, to get more in-depth analysis, to get the equations that help you decide what goes where. As you move on, you'll go into, again, more advanced techniques. You'll work with clustering, you'll work with visualization, you'll work with those summary statistics, you'll work with more advanced data manipulation. So for example, you'll think back to the crosstabs and group bys you worked with me. You'll see those come back in on larger data frames so that, again, you can kind of see how it all pieces in together. By the time this course is over, you'll have the skill set in a brilliant portfolio that you can use as a way to get those clients, to get those jobs. You'll be able to showcase the skill sets you've learned, as well as have the commenting throughout the code to really go back and understand what exactly was occurring. These are the kind of skills that when you're interviewing will allow you to answer questions. In these interviews, in these clients, when you're pitching to people, when you're proposing a contract, the chance is going to be that they're going to want to see that you can speak to what you've done before and how you're going to transfer that to them. Having a portfolio is a great step in that process, and that's what this mini degree will give you. You'll have your whole fundamentals built up into Django, into data science, and into a whole different set of varieties within there. I really appreciate you spending the time with us to walk through this video, and I'm excited to work with you in this course. If you want to go ahead and check out below, there's some information on where you could sign up. Also, please give a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content like this. Thanks again.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, do give us a thumbs up and share it. Also check out amazing discounts and offers on our premium courses in the description below.